Good afternoon, and welcome to the Autumn 2018 Cum Laude Society induction ceremony. We are honored to have in our presence distinguished faculty, students, parents, our head of school, Mrs. Laura Fuller, our Board of Trustees President, Mr. Andrew Petzold, the Cum Laude Society veteran faculty representatives, Ms. Holly Morse, Mr. Fred Lang, Mr. Don Forty, Ms. Kate Gay, and Ms. Emily Erkey. Today, we induct 11 seniors into the Cum Laude Society. It's a testimony to their high academic achievement. It's our custom here to congratulate them formally, to hear more about their endeavors, and to acknowledge their contributions to the university school community. Before we move on, I will give a brief explanation of what cum laude is and means. The Cum Laude Society recognizes academic excellence. Each year, approximately 20% of the senior class is inducted into the society. By a measure of grade point average, the top 10% of students in the fall and then the second 10% of students in the spring, in February. Cum laude is Latin. It means with praise. It is a mark of distinction recognized throughout the country in independent schools such as university school. USM has had a Cum Laude Society chapter since 1964, the year of our merger. The society indicates not only a commitment to academic excellence, but one that is tempered with honorable behavior. And now, to introduce our inductees is Ms. Holly Morse.
Hopefully, when you were watching the video, you could see that our scholars here on the stage have, their curiosity goes far beyond the classroom, and they have discovered a lot of passion in other areas of their lives, and they're going to be sharing a little bit of that with you today. This fall, we are delighted to induct 11 new student members into the Cum Laude Society, and I would like to introduce them to you. Please stand as your name is called. China Backus, Abby Frankel, Jack Glessman, Vanessa Goris, Amo Khan, Ellie Norman, Duncan Petrie, Grace Petzold, Vena Sane, Darby Tevlin, and Gabby Turr. The distinguished record that you have made at university school has earned you membership in the Cum Laude Society. This society is a fellowship of scholars whose purpose is to recognize academic work done in a climate of dignity and honor. As you pursue your education, we hope that you will accept the honor of membership in this society as a responsibility to make some contribution to the ongoing search for greater understanding of humans and society. Please be seated. And because we look to you for intellectual leadership, we give you this opportunity today to come forward to share a brief statement concerning a topic of your special interest or concern. And our first speaker today is China Backus.
Imagine learning in an environment where the teacher was not the first line of contact. If stuck on a problem, I was taught to follow a 5-step process. Think some more, ask a peer, ask another peer, and if confusion still persisted, only then could I ask the teacher. Being a frequent question asker, I found this process to be annoying and time-consuming. Despite my irritation, the method worked. This is known as the Montessori method and is how I learned from preschool to 8th grade. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Montessori method, it consists of about 20 kids across different grade levels who learn at their own pace and without a teacher lecturing at them. Success is measured by a student's ability to work independently and communicate with each other. At Montessori, the extent of my learning was never limited. From a young age, I was encouraged to work at my own pace. How fast I went from addition to division was completely up to me. Balancing work and talking with friends was not easy, especially when I was younger, but it was something I had to do. Being in control of my learning and success taught me a lot about self-motivation. The teachers were there to help me succeed, but at the end of the day, they could not learn the material for me. I had to do it for myself. When I first learned I would be attending USM for upper school, I was very nervous for several reasons. First, I knew like 2 people, and second, I'd never been given actual grades before, since at Montessori we were always given check marks. It was not until my sophomore year that I even began to kind of understand how letters correlated to a GPA. On top of that, many of my classmates were and are very competitive. Competition didn't really exist to such an extent in Montessori school. Although the adjustment was tough at first, the fundamental skills I learned at Montessori school translated well and led me to be successful at USM. I worked well in groups, was comfortable asking questions, and I didn't fret when confused or stuck on a problem for a little bit. Overall, Montessori helped me learn 3 things about school. 1, homework is not what makes you a scholar. Your commitment to academics is what makes you a scholar. Applies to yourself however you see fit. 2, in life you will only be as successful as you want to be. What you learn and how you learn it is up to you and no one else. And 3, if all else fails and problem solving is not working, never be afraid to ask a question. And if you're still confused, that's okay. It's good not to know the answers sometimes. Thank you. Next up is Abby Frankel.
At the age of 4, I started my very first sport, dance. If you can imagine a young Abby, I was slightly cuter, slightly smaller, and considerably more flexible. To a typical child, our first dance routine was daunting. I, on the other hand, I had it down to a science. Smile, step, clap, twirl, maybe smile some more. Finally time for our first recital, all the parents gathered with their video cameras and celebration flowers at the ready. Lights beamed onto the stage, but I wasn't fazed. I marched out with the rest of my class, and as the music started to play, I sat down. Crisscross applesauce. And that was the end of my dancing career. Short-lived. After my family recovered from the shame my dance recital brought upon them, I moved on to gymnastics. Unfortunately, I wasn't much better at it, but I practiced, and over time, I got worse. Even though it took me a while to find my rhythm in the gym, my teammates kept me confident and dedicated. Gymnastics was the first place that taught me what it means to be part of a true team. A team is always there for you, always supporting you, no matter how many times you fall. Even if, like me, you fall a great deal more than the average. Following my years of gymnastics, I took some trial runs with a bunch of different sports, including fencing, softball, and synchro. But I finally landed on competitive swimming. This is when I learned to work. Being naturally gifted in anything will bring you far, but it won't take you all the way. That's what practice and repetition are for. Dove too deep on the entry? Try it again. Took an extra stroke on the finish? Try it again. Missed the wall entirely? Try it again and again and again. I truly believe again is my coach's favorite word of all time. Although I'm partial to the word done, there is much beauty in finally seeing your hard work and dedication pay off. These sports have always been my way of getting out of the classroom, but in many ways, what sports have given me over the years can just as easily be applied at school. Do you need to know how to be part of a team? Yes. Do you need a drive to succeed? Absolutely. Even though I'm not the most remarkable athlete, sports have shaped who I aspire to be. I implore you to take the time and think about what shapes who you aspire to be. You might be surprised. Thank you. Next up is Jack Glussman.
wasn't until one night, while putting off studying a vocab list for Virgil's Aeneid, that I opted to investigate my condition. A Google search quickly led to a scientific paper on procrastination. I was hooked. The next few hours that I had expected to dedicate to Latin were now filled with research. I sifted through academic theses and scoured philosophical arguments. Since I only have 2 minutes today, I will briefly summarize my findings. There are two forms of procrastination. Although the research community on the behavior disagrees on a proper name, it boils down to a negative and a positive. While the net effect of either is not doing what you are supposed to be doing, the negative form of procrastination is essentially wasting time. Conversely, the positive form can result in constructive time usage. I realize that my procrastination more often models the behavior of the latter. I certainly find myself watching pointless hours of television or wasting time on a group chat, but I finally understood why some nights, instead of studying for exams, I found myself lost in thought, trying to reason through how gravity can manipulate time. Other nights, I would learn the complexities of the ancient rituals driving the high-end koi fish market. This practice of thinking, when used in moderation, is actually recommended by science. It can improve creativity, leadership, and surprisingly, focus. Long nights of studying should be broken up with time where you can use your mind in a constructive and rewarding manner. In conclusion, I encourage everyone to find something outside of a school subject that captivates you and allow yourself, instead of doing whatever, to just think. Pick something you don't understand or can't figure out in one sitting, because the benefits of turning your procrastination into something positive extend far past the classroom. Thank you. Next up is Vanessa Corris.
There are 24 hours in a day. When we're balancing schoolwork, athletics, our social lives, and millions of other variables, this number often doesn't seem enough. We only get 24 hours in a day, and we're left with the challenge of how to manage it to achieve our goals sensibly and effectively. American culture is impatient. Especially with the development of technology, we have grown accustomed to instant gratification. As Alexandra Samuel, a technological writer and researcher, argues, we really don't have to wait for anything anymore. A simple Google search allows us access to a plethora of information and resources in under 1 second. Packages arrive to your house from across the country in a couple days with Amazon Prime, and Snapchat and text messages allow us to chat instantly with people next to you and around the world. As an industrialized society reaping these benefits, speed and efficiency have become a couple of our highest values. We are taught to constantly strive to get things done, both well and fast. Americans' dedication to hard work has earned us a reputation of living to work rather than working to live. Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing hard work and productivity. They're what helped Americans bring aviation, the Macintosh computer, and other developments to humankind. Rather, I think we're wrong to prioritize our work all the time. We have neglected the importance of taking breaks and enjoying some leisure time once in a while, because the idea of using our time for something other than what we need to be doing seems counterintuitive. As I mentioned before, we only get 24 hours a day, so why waste it, right? What we often fail to recognize is, as such a hyperactive society, is that while our time isn't renewable, our energy is. Taking the time to unwind for many, though, is unrealistic. When stress builds, we tend to push ourselves to work harder, even though taking a break may be just what we need. Tony Schwartz, a New York Times journalist, uses results from studies performed at Stanford and accounting firms in which extra hours of sleep and vacation time improve individuals' performances to argue that it's natural for humans to take breaks. We're not wired to expend energy nonstop. Some may perceive our society as overstressed and overworked. We're scared to take breaks and to acknowledge our existence as humans with spiritual and physiological wants and needs because we're scared of losing time and ultimately productivity, even though what we need to be the most productive is that time to renew our energy. As for me, I feel the consequences of this rapid-paced culture in my own life. Not only could I probably gotten more sleep the past 4 years, I recognize that I haven't participated in every important conversation with my friends because I had put in headphones to concentrate on an essay I was writing, and that I've asked pressing questions without listening or interpreting the answers because I was too busy doing something else. I want to challenge myself and all of you to see that the work that you do is not who you are, to take the time necessary to unwind. You'll find those answers and participate in those conversations, and you'll also be more productive. Thank you. Next up is Amal Khan.
Some of my fondest childhood memories are of me watching TV. SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, Drake and Josh, the list could go on and on. Even so, my parents knew the negative effects too much television could have on my poor adolescent brain. So obviously, I wasn't allowed to watch that show. Yeah, Hannah Montana was that show. Sadly, I did not have the best of both worlds. Though all of these TV shows had great entertainment value, the show that had the greatest impact on me was the Powerpuff Girls. Created in 1998, this animated show followed the adventures of 3 young girls created by a scientist with the ingredients sugar, spice, everything nice, and chemical X. Though Buttercup, Bubbles, and Blossom, the 3 main protagonists, had such contrasting personalities, together they were able to make the perfect team. Each character was based off a stereotypical archetype of woman, but the show took the time to validate each of their traits, proving to young girls around the world that there is no one definition on what it means to be a woman. Not only did the show tell girls to embrace themselves as they were, but they also let them know that they didn't have to sacrifice their femininity to achieve their goals. The Powerpuff Girls were all very cute, but they were also very strong. Going against the common narrative of most films, where pretty girls were portrayed as dumb, the Powerpuff Girls' worth was placed higher than just their appearance, and rather focused more on what they had to offer the world and how they could rescue the people of Townsville from evil. Though something like a kid's cartoon doesn't seem to be remarkable in any way, it can have a remarkable impact on its audience. So don't be afraid to share with the world what you like, even if it seems childish. Thank you. Next up is Ellie Norman.
Everyone needs something to bring them relief from the everyday stresses of high school. Oftentimes, stress builds up continuously, and we never get a break from the enormity of it all. I want to encourage you to take a break from your studies and to do something enjoyable, something that relieves your stress, something that takes up time in your day but leaves you thinking, yeah, that was worth it. I take breaks from my homework to be with my family, especially my 2 sisters. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 younger sisters, Mimi, who's a sophomore, and Annie, who's in 6th grade. Although our interests and personalities are different, the 3 of us are like peas in a pod. There is nothing I enjoy more than hanging out with my sisters. I know I can always count on Mimi to make me laugh until I cry, and I know that Annie will always be able to cheer me up. Whether it's playing a board or card game, in which Annie loses by a ton, sorry Annie, or watching a movie that takes 20 minutes to choose because none of us agree, we can always find something to do. The only time you'll hear one of us complain, "I'm bored," is when the other sisters are busy doing other things. One of my favorite things to do with these 2 goofballs is going outside to play sports. Basketball, baseball, and lacrosse are our favorites, but riding bikes is a close second. Not to mention crazy acrobatics. Mimi and I have almost perfected our 2-person cartwheel. Just kidding, we have a long ways to go. Now, what is my point, you ask? Other than to share the advantages of having 2 sisters, my goal is to remind you that often the times when you are the most stressed are the best times to take a break and do something fun. Be with your family, watch the Brewers game, go Brewers, pet your cats, read a book, make a craft, whatever you like doing. It's not a waste of time if it's something that you enjoy. Thank you. Next up is Duncan Petrie.
Like many of you, I've grown up in boring old Wisconsin. And like many of you, I've spent 17 years waiting to get out. I'm ready, I tell myself, to go off to college, to travel the world, to see the ends of the earth through the lens of a camera. That's what I was originally going to talk about, my hopes and dreams to see the world, but as I was going through my pictures, I noticed that most of my favorites come from here, Boring Old Wisconsin. In my fervor to see towering mountains, vivacious forests, and exotic animals, I never saw this lumpy wheat swamp as a destination. I think I do now. So here they are, 4 of my best, an ode to the wild things of Wisconsin in hopes that I won't forget where I came from. Here's the one that started it all. I was wading through the sprouting brush one dewy spring morning when I came around a bramble, and in the skeletal boughs of a young sapling perched this picture. The cowbirds, caught up in their cacophonous chatter, paid me no heed. This was my first real wildlife shot, found completely on accident, and I was hooked. A few weeks ago, I headed out to a spot normally overflowing with red-winged blackbirds. It was a Saturday, however, and the noise of all the nature-bound families had scared the birds away. Luckily, grasshoppers don't have ears. It was late, and with the day's last light, I found this angular little fellow waving on sun-touched cattails. It took me 20 minutes to get the lighting and focus right, but it was worth it. Oh dear. I had to do it. I was walking through the meadow one afternoon, watching the trees, when a twig snapped behind me. I turned, slowly, to face this fawn, white spots like thick tufts of pollen, ears as big as pancakes, staring up at me. Still unspooked as I raised my camera, its big black eyes stared up at me. Then, as quickly as it had come, it was gone, leaving only a deer-shaped depression in the dappled grass. This one still surprises me. It looks photoshopped, but I really just got lucky. The morning was overcast, the finches and sparrows calm. I took this in my backyard, and it really goes to show that if you've got the time to look for it, there's beauty everywhere, even in boring old Wisconsin. Thank you. Next up is Grace Petzold.
Yeah, Grace! Over the past few years, I've come to understand the true meaning of teamwork through my experiences in water skiing and at school. I compete both individually in water skiing and in show skiing with the Cypress Gardens water ski team, where we put on a 1-hour show that includes barefooting, jumping, doubles, ballet, human pyramids, and acting. Although I could share with you so many different examples of teamwork that I have witnessed and have been a part of through my ski team, I believe that the ultimate display of teamwork, and more importantly trust, is the human pyramid. In this crowd-favorite act, guys take off at the dock with girls on their shoulders, and through careful but quick steps, we get into a pyramid that can be up to 5 people high or over 3 stories tall. Yes, it's probably better if you're not afraid of heights to be a part of this act, but there are so many other components that must come together for the pyramid to be successful. First of all, everyone must have confidence in not only themselves, but those around them to climb the way that we were taught and stay strong through waves, or just the sheer weight of the pyramid. As I'm usually on the 4th tier or climb to the 3rd tier with someone on top of me, I must rely on the people below me to help me climb, and I must trust that the guys and girls below me will hold their positions and not bobble. Additionally, when I'm carrying someone on my shoulders, I must remember that they are greatly depending on me, and I should do all that I can to support them. Although when I first began climbing pyramids, I'd always have butterflies in my stomach, now it's become like second nature to me. This is mainly because I've been taught so well by experienced skiers who always took the time to answer any questions I had and guided me through each and every step. My ski team has also become like family to me, and I literally trust them with my life. With that being said, yes, I've fallen from the top of the pyramid, and yes, I've gotten some pretty nasty bruises from landing on wooden skis, but I'm never afraid to climb back up there again since I love the adrenaline rush, and I know that the people below me are trying to keep me safe. Similarly in school, I'm grateful to all the amazing teachers here at USM who always took the time to guide us through what we're learning and are always there to answer any questions we have. I know I can trust them to prepare me for the tasks ahead, whether that's an upcoming test, college, or even our future jobs in the real world. As Miss Sarwell once told me, Grace, we're always here holding you up, although we may be a little more shaky than the people who normally hold you in pyramids. I want to thank all the faculty and staff for always supporting me in all that I do and working with me through my crazy travel schedule, because I know I couldn't have reached the level of success I have in and out of the classroom without them. Thank you. Next up is Veda Sane.
Growing up in a multicultural family, my parents exposed me to many types of food, from traditional Indian dishes like masala dosa to Swedish classics like lefse. I like some of it, but my favorite food, the one I choose for celebratory meals or when I'm studying for a big exam, has always been sushi. Most people hear the word sushi and think, gross, how can you eat raw fish? They don't realize, however, that the word sushi translates quite literally to vinegar rice and has nothing to do with raw fish. To show my love, I'll share some facts about my favorite food with all of you. 1. Sushi becomes zushi with a Z after the type is specified. For example, if you order a traditional sushi roll, it is maki zushi. When you order sushi with sashimi on top of it, it becomes nigiri sushi. 2. Sushi is meant to be eaten with your hands. It originated as fast food, and while you may eat it with chopsticks, it is meant to be a simple finger food, similar to popcorn. 3. There are exotic types of sushi, including pufferfish, the most dangerous type of sashimi. If cut incorrectly, it can cause paralysis and even death to the eater. To be certified to work with pufferfish, sashimi chefs must undergo a rigorous training and certification process, which includes eating their own prepared dish. Some sushi chefs do not survive the training. I prefer creating my own rolls. When I was around 3 and first discovering my love of sushi, I didn't like the nori, the black seaweed wrapped around the rolls. So I always replace nori with soy paper, which is easier to eat and also higher in protein. I have perfected my favorite roll over the years, changing it a little each time until I got it exactly how I like it. Now, for celebratory meals, we always go to Screaming Tuna to order the Veda roll, which consists of spicy tuna with avocado, with soy wrap and tempura flakes sprinkled across the top. Sushi has been a part of my life since I started eating solid food, and is a key ingredient to my success in academics and athletics. Thank you. Next up is Darby Tevlin.
It all started with a PowerPoint. I had been diligently researching for weeks, looking up various sources on ProQuest, JSTOR, and most importantly, every history teacher's favorite database, Wikipedia. I visited a few reputable websites that went by the domain names of Modern Cat, the Meow Blog, the Purrington Post, and my favorite, Pause and Effect. It was here I learned everything I needed to know. My previous days of citing last-minute annotations on Noodle Tools were over. This was real life. No more easy bib for me. You see, my mom and I had already visited and signed the papers that committed us to the adoption of the kitten, bought 20-plus toys from our local Walmart, brand new food and water bowls, a litter box, a lifetime supply of kibble, and secured the first round of appointments at the veterinarian's office. These facts remained a secret for more than 3 days in the Tevlin household, which is no simple feat. We were truly riding on sheer luck and the ability to outsmart our opponents. We figured convincing my dad was going to be more difficult than persuading my siblings, but not impossible. You see, he is notorious for passively liking animals, especially domestic ones, having grown up without such an experience. It took a solid 5 to 6 years of my childhood for my dad to initially agree upon rescuing our first pet, an elderly black Labrador named Scooter. Scooter was mellow, barely barked, and slept most of the day, so naturally my dad was on board. Now a kitten, I didn't think so, especially one that was only 2 months old and was not yet house-trained and had a rating on the Humane Society of Wisconsin's webpage that read PG-13. This kitten went by the name of Vera Wang and had a description of being sassy to the staff and visitors. Safe to say, I loved her immediately. It seemed as though I had discovered my feline alter ego, a mini-me of sorts. I was determined to bring her home. At last, the day had come, December 2nd, 2017, the day I displayed my extremely organized, detailed, and aesthetically pleasing PowerPoint adorned with various online memes and gifs of cats to the one and only Patrick Teflin. My life had been leading up to this moment. I made sure to come prepared with viral YouTube videos of cats if things started to go awry. I articulated interesting, rather unknown facts about the positive effects of caring for a pet cat, saying, "Dad, did you know that owning a cat can reduce your risk of a heart attack, high blood pressure, and a stroke?" As well as, cats are known to help individuals cope with loss and fulfill a lifelong need of companionship, in addition to helping you sleep sounder. And even, cats are better options for the busy intellectual, such as yourself, as they require less attention, but still demonstrate the same amount of love. Thanks to my persuasive skills and proficiency with Microsoft PowerPoint, my dad enthusiastically said yes, and I couldn't have been more grateful for his willingness to partake in this endeavor. The next day, we officially adopted Jinx into our family. I was glad that she had found a forever home with me, or forever home with me, and consequently, I had found comfort in her at a time that I needed it most. Moral of the story, never question the undeniable magic of a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. Next up, but certainly not least, is Gabby Turr.
Being a student athlete has been the highlight of my 4 years in high school. Although my focus has been on ice hockey, I have also recently found a passion for the game of lacrosse. Beyond bringing me countless friendships, my experiences with sports have taught me vital lessons which I have been able to carry over into the classroom. One thing that my coaches continuously preach to me is to have confidence while I'm playing. From a hockey perspective, you want to have the confidence to make plays on the ice, whether you think you can make them or not. Without confidence, you will end up making rash decisions on the ice, and most likely, people will think that you have no idea what's going on. From this, I have learned that confidence is also one of the most important attributes you can possess in the classroom. During my time at USM, I have come to understand that no question is a foolish question, and that being afraid to ask your question can actually impede your learning. Being confused is nothing to be ashamed of, and quite honestly, half of your classmates are probably sitting there wondering the same exact thing. Equally important to this is having the self-confidence to succeed. In both academic and athletic settings, I have learned that having the mindset that you cannot accomplish something can impair your performance and motivation. Many of the times which have made me realize this have come from experiences in Mr. Bosworth's physics classes. For example, when Frank Fee indicates that he is 10 confident on every warm-up problem in class before even reading it. Or when Brody Muchler would always assure me before tests last year that all you need is confidence and you'll be fine, despite how ill-prepared I felt. Even though I often view these moments as silly, I have truly seen improvements to my performance after taking them to heart and approaching problems with the belief that I can successfully complete them. As Venus Williams once said, just believe in yourself. Even if you don't, pretend that you do, and at some point, you will. No matter what your passions or interests are, don't limit yourself, your opportunities, or sell yourself short, because where's the fun in that? You'll be surprised when you see what you're truly capable of. Thank you.
Thank you to all these entertaining scholars that we have here. And now I call Mrs. Laura Fuller, our head of school, to the podium for a few congratulatory remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And mostly thank you. It's cum laude. Knowledge, awareness, enlightenment, habits of mind, skills, education, edification, learning. The list could go on and on. Students, you sit here today with us because these words describe part or perhaps all of your experience at USM. As inductees into this prestigious society, you have earned distinction as students of scholarship, exhibiting an energy for learning and a mastery of knowledge that will certainly carry you forward successfully into higher education and beyond. We are so proud of you as a school and as a community. And this may be why you're sitting on stage, but we all now know that by viewing your videos and listening to your speeches, that you are truly not one-dimensional people. In addition to excelling academically, you have enjoyed and mastered some pretty interesting skills in other areas of your lives. You are gymnasts, you are national champion water skiers, you are swimmers, dancers, hockey and lacrosse players, photographers, you understand the art of relaxation, you think about thinking and then you think about how to think, and you even have strategic plans for being cat buyers. These are not one-dimensional people. I would like to end today with sharing my appreciation on behalf of the entire administration and faculty for all of you students as you progress through where you are sitting now at this school and on your way to bigger and better things. It is our collective goal that when you move on from USM, you will feel better prepared and way beyond your future college peers. So today I want to thank you for coming to school each and every day, and hopefully coming with purpose and intent. And I promise you this, the dues that you are paying now by long study hours, writing papers, taking exams, will pay back huge dividends in just a few years when you go to college. And even though life can be complicated and you get distracted on a daily basis, friend issues, athletic challenges, deadlines, needing to relax, my best advice to you is remain focused on the finish line. A University School of Milwaukee diploma is ultimately your gift in life, and you will be jump-started when you go off to your next stage. Thank you, everybody, for helping us celebrate these wonderful scholars and all of our students. And I would like to invite the inductees and all of your families to join us in Olson Commons immediately following the ceremony. Thank you. You are dismissed.